It's day 7 of the government shutdown, and there is still no clear solution in sight after a pair of test votes failed again in the Senate last night.
Senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergam joins us live from Capitol Hill. Good morning, Chad.
Hey, guys. Well, 5 times the Senate tried to fund the government. 5 times it failed. The stalemate continues. The sides are entrenched as the shutdown continues, and the White House is threatening mass firings if Congress does not fund the government soon.
After 5 failed votes, it should be clear to Republicans that we cannot go forward unless they sit down and seriously negotiate with Democrats to address the health care crisis. It's that simple. The American people know if they do layoffs, if they do rifts, it falls on Donald Trump's shoulders. He's doing it, not Democrats.
The government shutdown is starting to have real-world consequences. There's concern about aviation safety. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is starting to see sick-outs among aviation employees.
I want people, when they travel, to get to where they're going. So if we don't have controllers, we're going to make sure the airspace is safe. So what we do is we'll slow traffic, we'll shut down traffic. It has a rippling effect at a time when we're trying to get more controllers in. This shutdown is making it more challenging. The bottom line is every Republican has voted to keep the government open. Actually, in the Senate, it was a bipartisan vote. It was Democrats that voted to shut down the government.
Now, Duffy concedes that aviation workers have mortgages to pay. Concerns about air safety ended the shutdown in 2019. Democrats insist on extra money to offset the cost of Obamacare. Republicans say the Democratic plan channels some of that aid to people in the country illegally. Democrats deny that. Republicans are not budging from their position.
Chuck Schumer is making a demand in exchange for opening the government. He wants to spend $1.5 trillion additional dollars, and he wants all that absurdity back in the budget. We're not doing that. Republicans have drawn a line. We're going to return to sanity here, and we can't let Chuck Schumer and the Democrats prevail.
Now, the Senate could take test votes again today, but expect the same results. There are no real talks happening now, and federal employees could miss a paycheck starting next week. Guys?
So, Chad, is anybody working behind the scenes to try to get more than 3 Democrats to vote for this? Or are they just throwing the test vote out there, hoping for some break? But are they working Jeanne Shaheen? Are they working Gary Peters or Jon Ossoff, who in a red state might not want to be the one holding out as he runs for re-election? Do you know of any effort?
You know, the conversations with Jeanne Shaheen, who voted to keep the government open in March, she said there's been no outreach. Chris Coons, a Democrat from Delaware, he indicated that he used to hear in the first Trump administration a lot from the Office of Legislative Affairs at the White House, and the Chief of Staff says he's not talked to anybody really since earlier this year in the White House. That's what's interesting about this strategy by the Republicans, is they thought by having the Senate out over the weekend that the pressure would mount against some of these Democrats, and maybe they'd vote yes yesterday afternoon, but that did not happen.
That's interesting.
Chad, you always say it's about the math, but it's also about the politics as well. Which side feels like they're winning on this issue?
Well, certainly both. I will say this, however. Just the fact that Republicans are now talking about health care, even though Mike Johnson said we won't have those negotiations until the government is open, he spent his press conference yesterday mostly talking about health care and mostly talking about what they would do once they get the government open again. It seems as though the Democrats, whether it's right or not, have at least pivoted the conversation, and that's why there has been no breakthrough in the Senate so far, because Democrats think that they've changed the argument here.
It's interesting that Rand Paul also deflected. He was the only Republican that didn't vote for it.
Yeah,
he's been consistent on that. I mean, he argued that he said he was opposed to the original Biden-era funding, which is what this is doing, renewing that. And he said, why would I vote for it now if I didn't vote for it last year?
Okay.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you so much, Chad.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.